Do I need to do anything with my Facebook?
No, I will tag you. So that means it should show up in your timeline, right?
I think so. Yeah, we're live. I think we're
We're
live.
live. Yay!
Hey.
Very exciting. I'm just going to post. Hold on one second. Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. Let me just make sure that we share this.
Me too. Let me just share yours.
And see if I can get us back here. I don't see where it is. That's funny. But I hope that it works. Do you see it live still too?
It shows live, yes.
Okay, awesome. So let's see if I can keep this up here. There we go. That will help me see if we have any comments and stuff.
Yes. So everyone, I think it's important if you can just mention, you need to go, it should be the first post on your Facebook. So it would be there.
Okay. Awesome. Just, there it is. Yay! Okay, it shows up for me now. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. For those of you who haven't met me before, my name is Pamela French. I am the Chief Empowerment Officer of Authentic Relating Ottawa, and we've been hosting events, building conscious communication skills here in Ottawa for almost 6 years now. And gosh, Thiago, I don't even know how long it's been since we met, probably 8 or 10 years now.
It was June 23rd, 2014.
Oh my gosh.
That was the day my life changed. I met you.
Wow, so I was just on the precipice of starting Authentic Relating Ottawa. I think July 14th was our first one.
Yeah, and I was there for your first one.
Amazing, amazing. Oh, and thank you so much. So this is my dear friend Thiago Fernandez de Lima, who's here with me today.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited, Thiago. You have this zest for life that is just so charismatic and magnetic. And I really want people to hear your story and what gives rise to this zest for life that you just seem to emanate without even trying, it seems like sometimes. And before we start, at Authentic Relating Ottawa, we have something really fun called sentence stems. They are the first part of a sentence, and I'm going to say it, and then I'm going to ask you to complete it as it's true for you right now.
Good.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, my first sentence stem is, my secret superpower is.
I got inspired by your title, Chief Empowerment Officer. I would say that my superpower is being a Chief Inspirational Officer. I love having crazy ideas and inspiring people to just try something different. I think that's going to be one of my superpowers.
Nice. I don't know why there we go. Okay. Inspiring people. Thank you so much. Second one. Here we go. If you really knew me, you would know.
Okay, well, let's be fully authentic. So you would know that I am full of ideas and I have no fear of being different. The dark side of that is that could be very overwhelming when I can think I can change the world every second, 10 minutes. So yeah, a lot of people can attest to that. And when you get close, you can see the Hurricane Thiago passing through.
Hurricane Thiago passing through. Sometimes you leave glitter behind, and that's fabulous.
Exactly. That's what I hope.
The third one is one that it's really important to me to ask people right now. because I'm really keen to know what really matters to you right now.
Wow. I think with everything that is going on, I think it's really using our superpowers to make a difference and to help society in whatever way we can. I think there's so much that people that are having to really redesign their lives during COVID and during pandemic, and whatever I can do to kind of spread love, spread a good message, and help people. I think that's what it really matters to me now. And I've been really thinking about having a voice and talking more about things that I'm passionate. So this is one of the things that I'm doing for love, for sharing with you.
Thank you so much. Spreading love is really important to me right now, too. I'm glad we're doing that together. So here we are. Sobriety as a path to an authentic life. First of all, I'd love to know how you define authentic.
I think to me, authentic, it's when you're 100% comfortable being yourself and knowing that who you are is something that is changing, growing, and learning, and depends on the situation. And you're not afraid of exploring every different side of yourself. I think sometimes people, like, we tend to think, oh, this is who I am, and frame that in a box. And we're so much more than that. And it's really having that courage, and I love using that word, courage, to just show up as you are without trying to be polished, but just your raw version, because that's your authentic expression at that point in time. So that's something that I truly believe.
Amazing. That raw showing up. And I think for myself too, as I've gotten older, I find the courage. In some ways, it takes less courage to just be as I am. But in other ways, I think it takes even more, because as I am has been who I have been for quite a few years now.
Exactly. And also the idea of, well, we're bombarded with media, with marketing that show here's how you should be, here's how you should address, here's how it is to be cool, right? So having that message of, yes, there's all of that out there, but I choose me in this form, it can be nerve-wracking, right? Like just putting something that is different, that is not what most people are doing at this point in time. So that takes courage, and that is being authentic. And a joke I used to say is, especially for young people, most people want to be the quarterback or the cheerleader, whatever, like that image that is the popular person, okay? And then it's like, well, if everyone was like that, copycat, and I have to choose someone in a crowd, how do I choose someone in a crowd? It's random. They're all the same. But the moment that you discover that you, with your unique sets of good and bad, make you unique, like that makes me okay when there's something that has to be Pamela. If I'm looking for someone that it's an empowerment person, like it has to be Pamela, because that's what I think of her. So the more authentic you become, it's crazy how then you no longer need to search for things. Things appear to you because people will remember you for those like competences, for those characteristics, and they keep coming back to you. And I think that's one of the beautiful truth about being authentic that I'm not sure a lot of people are talking about.
It's so true. And sometimes I think in my path to discovering what my own self-expression and authentic self-expression looks like, it's also coming to terms with things that do make me me and loving those things.
Yeah.
I remember there was a time in my life where I actually was like judged by my laugh, and not in a favorable way. But then I realized, like, this is my laugh. Like, I can't help how I laugh. It's part of who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there are, mind tricks and ways that I could go about consciously trying to change my laugh if I really wanted to, but I don't. I much rather embrace my laugh.
Yeah. And I love what you're mentioning, because I find that being authentic is not only showing that my superpowers, but also going deep in your heart and things that you put under the carpet and you don't want to deal with it, and it's embracing those things and remembering like you have choices. You can look at those things that happen in life and say, this is a trauma and this is something I would never want to touch. You can see that as a gift, right? Whatever happened to you helped you to become who you are, for good or for bad. So it's really embracing that in a very raw way. It's freaking scary. But the moment that you open up for those things and you realize how they shaped you, like that really helps you to be even more authentic and open and okay not drinking and just putting yourself out there, you know?
Yeah, so let's get to that. Sobriety as a path to an authentic life. When did you discover that there was such a thing as sobriety?
It's so funny because for me, it's like I've never been drunk. And for the longest time, it was like I was embarrassed of sharing that. It was like, oh, yes, I'm 40 or I'm 30 and I'm virgin. You know, I've never drunk before. It's like something that is so uncommon that I wouldn't share. But then people kept thinking of me either because they thought I was drunk or because they were like, um, yeah, he doesn't drink. He's just a weirdo, you know. And I finally started to just let's put words to it. Let's just start this conversation about not drinking and creating this kind of community. But it really started when I was a teenager. I was in a lot of sports. I was like swimming team, volleyball team, and the first argument for me was I never clicked that drinking could impact my performance. So why would I do that? Like I don't want to be I don't want to be hungover tomorrow. I want to be good to go. So that was one. Two, I had a lot of cases in my family of people that drank and didn't go in a good path. And for me, I always had a little bit of fear on going that path. So I think that was my original learning, like reasons. But then here's what I discovered. Are you ready for this? Because this is juicy.
Okay.
While my friends were learning how to drink, I was learning how to be myself and have fun, not drinking.
Wow.
And it's an experience. And for sure, it feels nerve-wracking when you're go to your first party or first concert and you're with friends and you're a teenager, 15, 16, you don't know how to act, you're learning all of that. But doing that sober, it was kind of scary, but liberating. And the feeling after that, I was able to do that on my own.
Yeah.
And believing that if I can do that, I can do it again. And once you do it for the first time, it's never as nerve-wracking. And then discovering that I could party Saturday, Friday, and Sunday because I was not hungover. And some friends will be like, I can't. So it was just why would I drink? So I think that's kind of the origins. I'm in no way, shape, or form against alcohol. I'm not here to preach people don't drink. I think my main point is just to say there is a path out there for those that decide not to, or those that decided to have one night that I don't, and it's just an alternative.
And what do you, well, first of all, where were you when you were a teenager? So do you want to share a little bit about that context?
Of course. So if you haven't noticed my accent, I have none. I'm from Brazil. So I've grown up in Brazil, northeast in a small city in the state of Pernambuco. So that's kind of where everything comes up. And then my parents were amazing, loving, caring parents, both very young. I was born when they were 16 and 20, respectively. And it was kind of an experience. We were all growing up together, I believe. And we had this dynamics where we were family and friends at the same time because we were all going through something and we're all helping each other in a very different way, right? And for a while, it was why are my parents not like the others? They are responsible and so serious, and my parents are still figuring things out. And that's part of my path of accepting, saying that's what made my experience to be what it was and make me be where I am. So I'm very happy to have had what I had, but that's how it always started. And, in Brazil, it was like here, it's, people started drinking when they're 13, 14 and experimenting here and there, um, until they're legally able to go and buy. But even the parents share, it's just very normal. It's what people, it's the social lubricant,
Yeah.
right?
Social lubricant is such an accepted norm.
Yeah, and you know what I find super funny is that people, let's have a drink often, right? It's just something you would say to someone, and then it's like, oh, but you don't drink. I'm sorry. And I'm like, no, like, I'm gonna go to enjoy time with you. Like, you're the reason of me having a drink, and I can have a drink with no alcohol, but I'm going to spend time with you, and that's more important than the drink. So I think it's always interesting to say, like, what are my reasonings, right? Like, if you're drinking, why do you drink? And just question yourself. And if you're meeting a friend, like, I'm going for a drink, like, I even want to find a new term now and say, I'm gonna to chat with a friend instead of like going for a drink. So I think it's kind of a fun way of just sharing the experience.
I think it's so important. I've been in this time that we've been, sort of hibernating and self-isolating. I've been really taking a look at patterns of behavior that I have specifically, that we have here in Canada, or we as a global community. And it's these things that we take for granted, with the let's have a drink. Like, what are we really saying? We're really saying, I'd like to connect with you.
Correct.
And so maybe this is the time, Thiago. Maybe we're shifting the movement, and now we're going to actually say what we really mean, which is, I would like to connect with you.
Exactly. And then I love what you're saying, because what do you want to remember, right? We do all those things to feel good at that moment and create a memory that is something we're going to cherish and keep with us. And it's about that close connections. It's about that good laugh you had with your friend. It's about that time you had the courage to say someone you loved them when you were into them. Sometimes you danced, or you went on karaoke in front of everybody, or you striptease. I don't know, whatever you've done that you remember as a good time, right? So that's what we're really searching for.
Yeah.
And I think I just wanted to say, like, you can have all of that, and you can have it because we humans can connect in an authentic way when we're trained and we learn how to do so, instead of just kind of using the drinking as the reason that you were able to do all of that.
And so I'm really curious to know, because I see, you had this supportive family, and you're in your teens, and you've decided, okay, I'm going to create my authentic self-expression without alcohol. And then you move to a completely different country. And I can only imagine, Thiago, and tell me how this lands, but you land here, and you want to be accepted, you want to make friends, you want to fit in, you want to know that you're loved. What's that like to still create that story that who I am is a sober person?
Like, honestly, I find integration in another country, immigration is such a deep question. We can go here for like hours and hours, but the short version, I would say, definitely we have that sense of, I wanted to connect, and you want to be just like them, right? But it was very important to me to say, this is who I am, and I gotta be truthful and honest about that. So the thing that happened often, it was, here's here a beer for you, welcome to Canada. And everyone was doing that with the best of intentions, because I was 21 with a bunch of other 20, 19 years old, and we're hanging out. And that's courtesy. That's how we do things, right? And it was very hard for me to have to say at that moment and say, oh my gosh, thank you so much, but I don't drink. And they're like, oh, really? But just a drink, it's okay. And I'm like, I really don't drink. I've never been drunk. And they're like, okay, well, that's weird. And I love you. And let's just have a good time. It's that first conversation. It's always like, yeah, I've never done or seen this before, but I'm okay with that. And you be you. And later on, the most incredible thing is how those people started coming back to me and remembering that I was the one that was not drinking and it was partying with them. And I had friends in this journey who at some point decided not to drink anymore and they reach out, or it became something they always remember about me, right? Because being authentic is having the courage to be yourself, even when you even when you do something that most people don't, right? And people remember that. It's like if you go on a date and someone asks exactly the same questions, oh, what do you like? What restaurants you go? It's like, it was okay. But if someone throws out like completely random questions or complete the sentence and they're like, okay, now we're in the game. I have to think about it, It's just, it was a beautiful journey of learning to just be authentic and show my side and having people experience, I still have friends until this date that will always say, when can I get you a drink? Can I be there the first time you get drunk? This is going to happen one day. Or this is the reason why you're still single. I get all of that. And it's like, that's fine. I choose this path and I'm going to take it with whatever consequences it come.
Yeah. Wow. So do you still come across people more and more, especially because I would say in the last couple of years, at least my experience of you, when you and Samantha created Get Life Drunk, which I'm going to ask you about in a minute, it seemed as though there was this bigger push. I mean, you've done some talks at schools now, and you're really kind of sharing more publicly this sobriety as a path to an authentic life. And it's interesting to hear, like, do you still get people who are like trying to like put alcohol in your drink and see what would we like to get Thiago drunk? Or
yeah, I think the whole trying to get me a drink with alcohol, I would kind of sense if things are going that way, or I was like, not my thing, but definitely. And I find that it's part of why I decided to start this conversation is because the term sober, it's usually associated with something that is boring, because if sober is the opposite of drinking or being drunk, and if being drunk is having fun, then being sober is not having fun, or it's thought about as being sober is a duty. So you're going to be the designated driver. So you're doing that out of it's a duty. It's not a choice. We have to pick someone to kind of help everyone to go through that. So there's not a public discourse about I choose not to drink and I'm having a good time not drinking. So I think that's part of the conversation that I wanted to create. But most of the time, people don't really understand, right, at first, and they need to experience that, and it needs to come out in a way that is not preachy, and I'm not ever trying to go to people and say, oh, I'm going to take your drink out of your hand, don't drink. It's like, you do you, this is my choice, this is how I'm showing up. And they kind of learn over time. But initially, there's always this like, why? Like it's, I don't understand you kind of question. Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. I want to share with you that we've recruited Xenia. Xenia has commented, and she is definitely ready to help us change the term for let's go have a drink. So she's got a few brainstorms in the comments I'm very excited about. Yeah. And I find this fascinating. And so, like, sobriety or not, being your full, true, authentic self, like, you're always going to come up against people who would rather you be somebody else.
Yeah.
And so it seems to me like it's a choice that you make every day.
Yeah. And what I find it's amazing is that the moment that you show up and you take a stand, even being different, you are freeing other people. When women decide to take positions of leadership, they're encouraging other women to say, if she can, I can. When I go and I don't drink, I'm showing other people that I can have fun without drinking, and if I can, others can. So I think that's a message that I find is very important for us to talk in the community of authentic relating, is that when you fully show up, you're creating freedom of expression for others. And you are being the change that we so much talk about it. And sometimes a small change like that makes a difference. And I find it so important that we put that out there.
And that's why we're having this conversation today. I was actually quite shocked. I mean, I can't say as though I've ever consciously committed to a sober period. I've had long periods of my life where I have been sober, but it just hasn't been something that I've consciously thought about much. But when the lockdown in Ontario started, and they maintained that LCBO stores would stay open, and I was talking to somebody because I don't really watch a lot of the news and stuff, and I was like, I wonder why LCPOs are still open. I mean, they even closed the weed stores. And somebody told me that the rate of like low functional alcoholism in Ontario is so high that we would have a greater problem on our hands of people going through withdrawal symptoms if we closed the LCBO stores than we would if we just kept them open, and people might get COVID from going.
Totally. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. Like, that's how normal it's become here where
Totally.
we are anyways. I'm sure across North America it's not much different.
Exactly. But like you need to look at industry too and marketing, and you see how if you're a man, if you're watching a game, you're having your beer.
Yes.
If you're doing business, you're having your whiskey, you're having your scotch. And I find fascinating how now they turn to women, and it's like, oh, you're sophisticated and you're elegant. You have your glass of wine. If you're upset, you have a hard day, you have a glass of wine. You had a really good day and you're celebrating, have a glass of wine. So you're bombarded with that message, and it's almost like this is what everybody does, and it's just how you do things.
Yeah.
So I just find interesting that we just question. Some people love the taste of wine and they like it, and no problem with that.
Yeah.
I think what I wanted people to question themselves is when they associate, I can only be certain way when I'm drunk. I think that's when we can start having a bigger conversation. Or I'm only fun when I'm drunk. Or I can only dance if I'm drunk. I can only share emotions with someone if I'm drunk. Or I need to get him drunk so we can finally make out, Like all of those associations that I think we need to reflect. Like, do you really need that? And if so, why? Right? Like just question yourself.
Oh, you know how much I love questioning ourselves. And
Totally.
so, yeah, now's the time. Now's the time to really take a look at what is my relationship to being sober or not, and why. Like, why do I do those things? Why do I believe the things that I believe? Were they things that were given to me, like from my family or society or advertising, or my friend group? Or are they something that I really stand by?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful.
And I find it's important, like, especially from my experience, people that have had traumas or issues, like, I find alcohol can be a way of numbing emotions. And you can choose that path, but eventually you have to deal with your own demons and your issues. And I find that, the earlier you do that in your life, when you're ready, I think that helps you to really free yourself, and free others. So that's why I really encourage to go through that journey. And sometimes it's hard. Like during quarantine, yes, I had days that I was like feeling really lonely and feeling in isolation. And I don't even own a TV, but you have that notion of, oh, I'm just gonna binge watching something. And at times I just got pen and paper and I just went writing, and it was like, there is an emotion here. I can choose to just watch something and try to forget about life, or I'm gonna try to better understand that. And when it comes, it's such a beautiful moment to kind of like, oh, it's very strong here. You kind of have to get that out and process at that time. It's like a song. Like if you have a really good emotion and you want to write about something, you have to do at that moment, because after you're not really in that full energy of expression. So it's important that we kind of like think about those things and get deep and be curious, because that only makes you more aware of who you are.
Oh my gosh, curiosity is something that we stress so much in all of our events. It's such a wonderful paradigm to view life through. And I can tell we are so soul connected, because I can't even tell you how many I think I've been through 2.5 journals since mid-March. And I had to buy a whole new pack of pens. Like, I'm writing like it is nobody's business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I want to, with 6:31 now, and so I guess we didn't really ask our audience any questions. So I'm glad that some people have been commenting, and I'm so blessed that you're here watching with us. I think two things I would like to cover before we say goodbye, Thiago. And one is, would you like to share a little bit more about Get Life Drunk and what it means to you and what your reason why?
Yeah, so I think Get Life Drunk is just starting a new discourse and how to frame sobriety as a fun way. And even when I use the term sobriety, I find that there's a little bit of resistance. So I think, it's not that I'm sober, I'm life drunk, because people assumed at times that I was hammered and I was just having a good time, 100% sober. So I think that's, it's just creating a term that people can identify, and they can kind of like I'm just life drunk and feeling good about it. So it's a positive way of framing sobriety that, shows a completely different side of emotions. So that's kind of what I wanted to share. So it's been a slow process for me, but it's my own journey to trying to learn about that and how to put that out there. But just talking more and more and more, it's very important to me. Also, as part of the LGBTQ community, I find there is a lot of reliance on alcohol and drugs. Sometimes because they have to deal with a lot of rejection or that little process of accepting themselves, and alcohol can be a quick, numbing feeling solution. So I think that's why it became so important to me to kind of put that message out there and really help other people.
Well, I have to say, as a student of the Hermetic arts and magic in general, sobriety, as you've said, does have that negative connotation, if you will. And I love what you're creating with Get Life Drunk. Like, let life fill you with everything that you want to express. So it's spot on. I really, really applaud you for that. And we'll put some links to where people can find you and follow you for that. And lastly, I did want to leave a little teaser, because I think we're going to have another conversation again really soon. You were saying that you're a member of the LGBTQ community. And I think what really inspired me to reach out to you and say, let's have a conversation, was because although I've been doing a lot of writing, I have done my fair share of binge watching as well. And one of the things I binge watched was Schitt's Creek.
Yes!
And I fell in love with Dan Levy. I didn't even know he existed until that show. And I loved his self-expression. And I know he was acting, but he was also writing. I mean, he created that character. And then I went down the typical internet black hole, and I watched every interview he'd done on Schitt's Creek. And
but it's so good.
It is so, so good. And I see so many similarities between him and you in terms of, like, he wrote Schitt's Creek from this point of view where he wanted to create a whole new way of seeing things. Mm-hmm. And he did it. And you're creating a whole new way for people to look at things and how they might want to approach their authentic self-expression. And I applaud you for that, Thiago. It's beautiful. Big things are coming your way.
I hope. I will keep trying to put the message out there. And, if you change your own life, I achieved my goal. If it's 10, even greater. And, it's the pay it forward. I think everyone kind of share their own experience. And that's how we create a society that is more authentic, more alive, more conscious.
Oh my gosh. What is that quote? I want to remember it. The world needs more people who have come alive.
Yeah,
It's so true. Let's come alive.
because when you come alive, it's just like a force of power in nature that is like, you're a machine. You just like go through because the universe is just like, this is your path. Just run, fly, you know?
Oh my gosh, it's so true. It's so true. And you know what? I want to mention one last thing before we leave. I know I keep saying one last thing,
I know it's so much fun.
but coming alive is something that we give a valuable opportunity to do. And I would be sad if I didn't mention that our next online authentic relating games night is Monday, June 1st. And it's the edgy edition. So it's the perfect time to practice those conscious communication skills of discovering ourselves,
Sign up.
courage, being vulnerable, and new ways of looking at things. So I'll post the link in the comments to this video as well for how to register. If people want to come and join, they're welcome.
And if I can just add to that, I've been to many authentic relating nights, and it's such a great experience every time that I go, because it's a way of us to really being authentic in a playful way. We spend so much time, you know, gathering and trying to be playful with things that sometimes don't matter, instead of like really like let's be playful with things that are super important, and it really makes me see, feel, and hear you. So everyone sign up for authentic relating nights because it's always a good time.
Oh my gosh, there's such a high that happens afterwards too. That adrenaline or oxytocin rush or whatever it is of like being open and connected is beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing your experience of it too. Oh my gosh, Thiago, it's been so wonderful connecting with you as always.
I love you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for making time and space for this conversation. And I'm very happy with everyone that tuned in, and thank you for listening. You know, we're all just trying to change one life at a time, and
Starting with our own.
yeah, and if they can, we can. If I can, you can.
I love it. Oh, I love you so much, Thiago. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.
Shit them.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.
Bye, everyone.